All right, here we go. Our first screencast. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk through a PowerPoint. Okay. This PowerPoint is going to cover one of the first essentials that you had to master, sort of towards the top of the list, and it says follow the rules for calculating significant digits or significant figures in a number. We're also going to see how to use those numbers when we multiply and divide and add and subtract. Okay. So I may stumble a couple of times through this, but you'll get used to it. I'll get used to it. And as the year goes on, I'll get better at this, hopefully, and you'll get used to listening to my voice. Okay. I do have the option on here to, let's see, whoops. You'll probably hear lots of whoopses during this, but I'm probably going to write, okay? And so at some point, it may pop up and look like this, and I'll just say hello. But anyways, yeah, it's possible that I may go ahead and pull up the option in which I want to go ahead and write something on the screen or highlight something that I think that you should focus on, all right? And at any time during this screencast, feel free to pause it because I'm not going to stop talking and sit here while I give you time to write, okay? So anyways, sig figs. We say significant figures, sig figs for short. But here's the first slide, okay? And here we go. All right. First off, in class we talked about precision and we also talked about accuracy. When we look at what a significant figure is, it's really just telling us how precise our measurement was. Okay, and so if one example I like to use is saying that something is, oh, it's like 100 feet from here to there, that doesn't sound very precise. But if I said it's 101.2 feet from here to that point over there, that sounds a lot more precise. It sounds a little bit smarter. Okay, and so one of those numbers has more significant figures than the other one does. All right, it's just a tool we use in physics. It's a tool we use in chemistry and within the physical sciences. You may even hear it in math class. Okay, so take a second. If you need, go ahead and pause it, but go ahead and write down the definition for what a significant figure is. All right. Now there's rules for calculating significant figures, and here for a second, I'm going to go ahead and write. Okay, if I've got, oh, that's a bad color. Well, let's kill that. We'll go to something that stands out, all right? Like the numbers I used a second ago, all right? Number 100 doesn't sound real precise in any way, and so if I asked you how many significant figures there were, this one happens to have one, according to the rules that you'll see in a second. If I asked you about that other number, and I forget what it was, maybe 101.2 feet, okay, this one happens to have 4 significant figures. They're significant, they mean something. We should count them, okay? And so we'll look at the rules of how I came to determine why one of those had 1 and one of them had 4. All right, let's move on. Okay, so the first of your rules for significant figures. First off, anything that's not a 0 is considered significant, okay? The rules all apply to where the zeros are and whether or not they can be considered significant or not in our value. All right, so rule number 1 says zeros at the beginning of a number are not significant. So you're going to have to memorize something here. You get to memorize that a number like 0.0245, why does it only have 3 significant digits? Because they're not counting the zeros before. All right, so zeros at the beginning of a number, they simply tell us where the decimal are. They're not considered significant. All right, again, feel free to pause it, write down rule number 1, write down rule number 2. Zeros within a number are significant. All right, so 104.6, that's got 4 sig figs. Why has it got 4? Because we're going to count that 0 in the middle. Okay, and if I'm kind of looking up and down on the camera, well, that's because I'm staring at the screen too, okay? So there's your first 2 rules for calculating significant figures, all right? Rule number 3, zeros at the end of a number after a decimal point are significant, okay? The rule says, though, that zeros at the end of a number, if there are no decimal, then you don't count those zeros. For instance, our first number that we saw earlier, 100, only has one sig fig. You don't count the zeros at the end. All right, but according to rule number 3, as soon as you place that decimal, now you count that 0 at the end. Okay? Those are the 3 main rules. Don't forget, all non-zeros are significant in a number. The final rule, and this one involves exponents. If there's an exponent, like the one I've shown here on the screen, 2.3 times 10 to the 4th, all right? You'll see those kinds of numbers in math class. If you do, don't worry about the 10 to the 4th. Just look at the number itself, all right? So before that multiplication sign, and this one has the 2.3, so 2 sig figs, no zeros, so we count all non-zeros, all right? Nothing crazy so far, I hope. They're just rules you'll have to memorize, okay? Couple of examples. Ready? Here they come. Here we go. You're going to do a worksheet later that's going to ask you if you can do these, okay? That'll be the part of this that you are graded on. But as we look at these numbers, see if you can't go ahead and get them before I let the actual answer come up, okay? So like 56678.0, how many sig figs? All right? Well, ask yourself about those rules. The non-zeros, they are counted, and there are 5 of them, and then you've got that 0 at the end with a decimal. All right? I know one of those rules talked about decimals. Okay? Hopefully you said that that answer was 6. All right? Looking at the next one, you count zeros in the middle of numbers. Okay? So you count those 2 zeros in between the 6 and the 4. That 0 is also in the middle of a couple of non-zeros, so you count it also. Guess what? You're going to have all those counted. Okay? 20 doesn't sound real precise, does it? Sounds like I just kind of pulled it out of a hat. That one only has 1. Okay? I think it was rule number 1 said that zeros at the beginning are only to show where the decimal is. We kind of call them placeholders. And again, only 1. We don't count them. Oh, but 20.0 looks a little bit more precise. Looks like I went through the effort of using some sort of measuring device that was a little bit more accurate. Okay? Here's that exponent. Don't look at the exponent. Don't look at 10 to the 3rd. Just look at the 2.60. And then finally, 180 with a decimal. We're going to count that 0. Okay? Means I've got a fairly precise measuring instrument. Okay? There's that. Multiplication and division. All right? Now there's a lot of writing here, I understand. Go ahead and pause it, okay? But you got to know the rules for them, all right? So when we look at multiplication and division of numbers, your answer cannot have any more significant figures than the least precise number in the problem, all right? Now, if you look at the example here on the second bullet, it's 7,540 times 1.3. All right, so you look at those 2 parts of the problem and you say, all right, which one has the least number of significant figures? Well, your rules would tell you that the 1.3 is the least. It's only got 2. Okay, and so when I get my answer on my calculator, my answer is going to say 9,802.0 meters, but I can't have that as a final answer. According to the rules of significant figures, you can only have 2 in the answer, and so you round down that 9802 down to 9800, and I didn't put a decimal in my answer. One other way that you can do this one, and bear with me for a second, is this could also be written as 9.8, and I move the decimal place twice. So you could have it as 9.8 times 10 to the 2nd, and that's we call that scientific notation, and that's a better way of writing out an answer, especially when you start to get lots of zeros. Okay, so that's up there for a second. Jot it down as a better way to write an answer for that problem. Okay, and we're going to lose it as soon as I click that mouse. There we go. All right, and so I gave you a little explanation there of why there was only 2 as the bottom bullet here. All right, let's go on. Let's do adding and subtracting, okay? A little different. It says here you want to arrange the numbers in columnar form and the final answer can only contain as many decimal places as the fewest number of decimal places in the problem. And pause it, jot that down. I do want to see notes, okay? I will give you credit for taking notes, okay? And then if we look at an example of that, I'm going to take the top bullet and I'm going to write that in columnar form, and I'm going to get an answer. I'm going to get 135.28, okay? Now, one of those has 2 decimal places and one of the numbers has 3. According to the rule, go ahead and put your answer only in the fewest number, and that's 2. Okay? Sorry if I'm moving fast. All right? You have the pause button. You have the pause button so that you can try and decipher some of the things that I'm saying. But also, don't worry, because you're going to come into class and you're going to get a chance to try some of these out. All right? So, here's your assignment. Upon completion of the video and the PowerPoint, that's all this mixed up, you're going to need to show me your notes and practice a few problems within a worksheet. Okay? So there's 2 grades. All right? You're going to be able to skip number 2 on the worksheet. Okay? It's a problem that I didn't cover in the PowerPoint. It's about rounding. I don't want to go that far. I'm not even so sure that in a high school chemistry or a physics class like Mr. Steckline might teach, I don't even think you are going to be required to do a problem like that. But all the other problems on that worksheet are definitely doable according to the rules that you wrote, okay? And looking at the examples that I gave you. All right, so in follow-up, we're covering Mastery Essential 2B in this PowerPoint and video, okay? I'm going to sign off. It looks like, actually, to be honest with you, this is 2B, C, and D, all right? So we've just knocked off 3 Mastery Essentials under 2, okay? You guys are rocking it if you were able to watch this, all right? If you're able to get the notes down, you're going to get points for that, okay? And then you're going to show me that in class that you understand what we're talking about, okay? I'm signing off. We'll see ya. Hopefully I can turn this off correctly.